There's a horse right there. I guess he slept here last night. So did we. This is San Cristobal Walmart. I forgot Starlink. I gotta take it down. It's 5 in the morning and we're getting an early start. Alright, 4:56. We're gonna be a little late. It's gonna take about 15 minutes to get to our rallying point, which is other side of town. We're crossing the border today. At least that's the plan. So we're meeting a couple that we met. So yeah, there are 2 horses sleeping in the Walmart parking lot last night. I don't know if you guys can tell from the video earlier. We are about 100 miles from the border, from here in Chiapas, San Cristobal, Chiapas, to the border of Mexico and Guatemala, the Guatemalan border town of La Mesilla. We got everything done yesterday, which includes getting gas, getting some Guatemalan currency, the quetzales. We got the health certificates for the cats. We wanted to get an early start because it's about a 100-mile drive, but it's going to take like 3 hours to get there. It is 5 o'clock. I don't know if we've ever gotten this early of a start. Alright, so we're about 30 miles into our drive today, and it's taken us already an hour. That's because we're driving through a bunch of villages that have just a ton and ton of speed bumps, aka topes, here in Mexico. But the sun's finally come out. The scenery is pretty cool. Lots of mountain ranges and like misty fog in the distance. But I want to talk to you guys about what our plan is today. So we are doing a border crossing. We've decided to cross into Guatemala earlier than we originally planned because we still have a little more than 3 weeks left on our Mexican visa. But the 3 plans that we had, so we had these 3 options. One is that we could just stay put and hang out wherever we were for longer, get an Airbnb for a couple weeks and just kind of get into the vibe of San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas. It's a pretty cool town. We were there for 3 days. So that's option number 1, and we didn't really want to do that just because we don't think that there's that much for us to do there. We'd just be kind of wasting time, and if we got into the swing of being in an Airbnb, we just wouldn't go outside as much. So option number 2 was that we leave, but we don't cross the border. We kind of drive near the border. There's a few places to see. Like there's one area that's supposed to be pretty cool. It's a national park near the border. There's some other places that are like jungly, foresty along the border in Chiapas and Guatemala. That could take us a couple of weeks. The reason why we didn't want to do that is because once we get into lower elevation, it's going to be really hot, and those places don't really have campgrounds with shady common spaces that we could use. And just camping facility, now that we're here, is actually not really good. In fact, if you look on iOverlander and you look at places where you can empty your toilet, empty a toilet, yes, but if you had like an RV with a black and gray tank, there is literally 0 places on iOverlander where you can empty a sanitary dump station in the whole country of Guatemala. So camping infrastructure just really kind of goes away for the next few countries, I think. That includes a lot of Chiapas too. So our third option is that just we cross early. We cross early, we spend more time in Guatemala. And what's cool about that is that we don't have to worry about the heat as much, because in Guatemala they have these volcanic mountain ranges that are pretty high in altitude. Lake Atitlan and Antigua. These are all kind of like 5,000 to 7,000 feet elevation places, and the weather will be pretty nice there, and it's supposed to be really cool places to be and hang out. So that's what we decided to do. And on top of that, our friends that we met them in Oaxaca City. They were at the same campground as us. They have only a few days left on their tourist visa in Mexico, so they have to leave. And they're gonna leave today. And then they asked if we wanted to go with them. So just for the sake of having somebody to cross the border with, which is always a good idea, we decided to go for it. So that's why we got up this morning at 4:30 in the parking lot of the Walmart. Last 2 nights we spent in front of a hostel in San Cristobal de las Casas, because we tried to go to a campground, and this campground was just ridiculous. I mean, it was a nice place, except they wanted to charge us more than double their regular price because we have kids and pets. So just in principle, I'm not going to support those kinds of like overcharging of people, because practically speaking, we're not taking up any more space than just 2 people with a camper. And the only thing that we might be using more is a little bit more water. And does that justify charging us more than double? I can't support that. So we decided to leave in front of a hostel for a couple of nights. Wasn't the best because we're parking on the street. It was nice because it was really close to town, so we were able to do a lot of walking around in San Cristobal, which was a really cool town. It basically has it's a colonial town with a bunch of Spanish churches. The streets are narrow and even has like a very French Quarters, New Orleans vibe, and a lot of cool restaurants, cool shops. So we really enjoyed the couple days that we were there, but we also just didn't want to stay in front of the hostel for more than we already did. So yeah, so all kind of works out, and it kind of funneled us into this decision of just taking off and going. So that's where we're at. We're about 70 miles from the border, and our plan today is to get to the border when it opens at around 8 o'clock, get there as early as we can, because it may take us a few hours to sort everything out. And apparently by noon, like all the buses and stuff that shuttling people back and forth get there from probably San Cristobal, because it takes them about 3 hours. This road is like 100 miles, but it takes forever because of all the topes. So we want to get there before them and then get across by noon, so that we have plenty of time to get to where we want to go once we get into Guatemala. Let's see how it goes the rest of today. Today's it's going to be a long, tedious day. We're just getting started. About 15 miles from the border, 14 miles from the Mexican customs office, where we have to go and cancel our temporary import permit, and also cancel out our tourist visas, which is something that you have to do before you leave Mexico. Otherwise they won't like it next time you come back. In fact, if you don't cancel your temporary import permit, they won't let you get one next time you come back. So that's one of the things you have to do. We're not really sure exactly what else is all involved, But our current plan is right now we're gonna go to the customs office on the Mexico side, take care of all of that, and there may or may not be like a fee to exit per person. We'll find out when we get there. There's some kind of controversy. Some people say it's you're not supposed to have to pay, but they make you pay and there's nothing you can do. So we'll see how that goes when we get there. And then after that, we're technically not allowed to come back into Mexico anymore. So we're gonna head over about a mile past that to the actual Guatemala border. And it's there where we have to pay for our visa to get into Guatemala, get another temporary import permit for our vehicle, and then we have to pay for the pets. Each cat, I think, has to pay some kind of fee to get in. And I have to show them our health certificates that we got yesterday. And if you guys get a health certificate, depending on who you go to, it could be just like us. We just went yesterday and they're like, oh, we don't have time. When are you crossing? We say tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, okay, let's just do it. He didn't even look at the cats at all. He just wrote these two like letters, signed, stamped, everything. And he backdated it 5 days because apparently you're supposed to get this 5 days before you cross the border. So he backdated it so that we could use it today. So it's all just very, you know, informal, but they'll do all the stuff for you. So even if you don't follow the rules exactly, you can still get it. But it depends on the vet that you go to. We went to the vet in San Cristobal. We passed through the town of Comitan, which also supposedly has a vet that you can go and do this with. But we didn't do that. So once we cross the border into Guatemala, we are not going to go very far. There's supposed to be a place just about 10 miles past on the other side that we can spend the night at. And that's our current plan. We'll see how it is, how it feels, and if it feels like a good place for us to kind of gather and regroup. Because to get from there to where we want to be, to stay for a while, it's about, I don't know, 5 hours driving. So we don't want to do that. Just in case there's some further delays, we'll get there in the dark and it's too risky. So we're going to drive in the morning. We'll try to get a place to stay fairly close to the border and then wake up early in the morning again and drive to probably Lake Atitlan. So that's our plan. We're about 13 miles from the border now, and we'll see how this goes. All right, just left the Mexican customs and Bañercito where you get your import permit. Customs lady at first thought we overstayed our 6-month visa by 3 days because she miscounted November. Instead of November, she thought we came in October. And today's the 25th, and we came in on the 22nd, so she was probably thinking, oh yeah, no, you're supposed to leave 3 days ago. But no, she just, she misread, or just in her head, she was thinking about the days of the month. But anyway, sorted that out, no problem. We was able to cancel our FMM exit, and then went to the Bañercito side next door, canceled our 10-year RV temporary import permit. She also asked if we wanted to, we could have kept it if we want, but for us it's easier to just cancel it because in case we don't bring this van back into Mexico next time, we bring another vehicle in, they won't let you have 2 temporary import permits under your name at the same time. So if we leave this in Europe, for example, or buy another camper, come down here again, it's better that this one isn't under my name already. So both are done, and now we're in sort of no man's land. We're like officially exited Mexico, and we have not entered Guatemala yet. So that's coming up next in about a few miles. Fingers crossed all of that goes well, That's the unknown. We've never done that. We've done this. Guatemala is all new to us. Anxious and excited at the same time.
Oiga, me presta el documento, papel.
Yo espero, mi amigo, un momento.
Okay.
Yo espero.
Could this guy have just a sticker like that, or is he official?
I don't know. Estamos juntos. ¿Está bien? Now we're in the Guatemala side. I'm going to take my documents for who knows what reason.
Well, he wanted you to pay him to do this.
All right, we're at the Guatemala border now. We came right up to the border, no problem, and then we were just at the other side. Our friends Zach and Ruta stopped in front of us. Some guy with a pretty official uniform talked to them while I was waiting, and then some other guy with just a blue shirt and a blue hat came over and asked me for my documents, which looked kind of sketch. So I just ignored him, told him I'm waiting for my friend, and he backed off. He said okay. He just started doing things on his phone. So be aware of that. I think he was just a guy trying to be like a fixer and want you to pay him to do things for him, and you don't need it. So after Zach and Ruta passed this first stage, which is where we're at right now, I think we're paying for like bug spray for underneath the car. And after this, we pay that. They're spraying the car right now. We're gonna go pass, and then we're gonna park to the right, which is where they are, and we'll do all of our documentation there, I believe. So Marlene's talking to somebody, and we should be through here pretty soon. So be aware, there'll be people who will try to get your documents from you, and then once you hand them your documents, you know, they're kind of holding them hostage until you pay them to do things for you. So don't fall for that. Make sure they look official. Make sure if you're suspicious, ask them for ID. All right, we're through. We're through this first part.
Can you give it to me? Because we can't let her go anywhere else.
All right, we're parked. Now we're gonna go figure this out. All right, driving through La Mesilla in Guatemala. We finally got through. We actually waited a whole extra hour. For a while, we were just sitting around wondering what the hell's happening. And then turns out we had paid for 2 cats to be imported, I guess. I don't know. Is it called importing your cats? Or just, yeah, or just to be brought into the country. It was really expensive. It was 110 quetzales each, which is about, I don't know, what is that, like $13, $14?
That's really expensive.
Well, compared to the car was only like $20.
Yeah.
And the cats were like almost as much as bringing a car in. But it turns out they only had to do 1 for both cats. So there was a bit of confusion for a while. The guy at the agriculture place was trying to figure it out. He went to the bank and he got us, the whole time we were waiting, we're just waiting for a refund. I guess we would have been fine without the refund, but now we're in. We're just driving through this you know, pretty cool town, pretty cool border town of La Mesilla in Guatemala, and trying to get to the edge of town, find a big enough store to get some groceries, and then we'll yeah, head on to our, hopefully a decent enough place for us to spend tonight before we leave tomorrow. on the go again today. It is Wednesday morning, April 26th. Last night we spent one night at what probably was the most expensive place we've ever spent at in the history of our camping life.
What? I don't know.
Maybe. It's close though. For sure Mexico. For sure all of Europe. But last night we paid 350 quetzales, which is about 7 to 1, 6.5 to 1 US roughly. So we paid about 45 bucks. However, what makes it more expensive is that the quetzales that we got them in Mexico at a money exchange place, which we paid a horrendous exchange rate at. So we paid like 2.5 pesos to 1 quetzal. So 2,500 pesos got us 1,000 quetzales. So that makes the exchange rate like north of 50 bucks for 350 quetzales, which we paid last night. And it's just a parking lot of a hotel. They used to charge far less. They used to charge 50 pesos or 50 quetzales per person. Now they charge 100. On top of that, they charge 50 quetzales per kid. So we ended up paying 350. Did have a pool, did have showers, cold showers, did have toilets, did have water, no electricity, very like foliaged, so we couldn't get our internet going. But it was only like 7 miles from the border, which is what we wanted to do. We wanted to cross the border and then stop someplace quick and do the big driving today. Big driving meaning a whole 129 miles we're doing right now. But the roads are apparently so bad that it's going to take us 5 hours to do 130 miles. We are about 7 miles in, and so far we've gone, it took us about 20 minutes to go 7 miles. So that's about the pace we're looking at. Not great. And we did hear from a local guy yesterday that also warned us, go slow because there are giant potholes on the roads. So far the topes aren't as bad as Mexico, but it sounds like they don't need topes when there are giant potholes. It's the natural tope that slows people down. Today we're gonna get to Lake Atitlan, where there's a campground where we thought we were going to pay an exorbitant price to camp there at a cost of 190 quetzales per night. But compared to what we paid last night, feels like a bargain now. All right, the last couple hours have been a bit of a crazy turn of events. So we're trying to get to this campground down by the lake, and the normal way you go down there is you go down this highway CA1, and then you turn down this road, and it takes you down this really steep side of the mountain with super crazy switchbacks and really steep, like brake burning roads. But you know, huge Guatemalan buses go down it, so you know it's doable, and we did it. In fact, the campground we're trying to get to, it's by this town called San Marcos. It's right by the lake. It's really cool. And there's a town right before that you have to drive through, and we drove through that. We had to pay actually five quetzals to get through it, just as a fee, I guess. I don't know why they charge you. They even give you a receipt, so I guess it's kind of legit. So we got to about 1 mile away from the campground on the other side of San Marcos, the town. And turns out, and we kind of know this because the campground guy told us, oh, they're having a festival in town. So if you're 7 or 6 meters or less, you should be able to pass. So we get there and we're like, okay, we're 7 meters, we're a little longer, but we have a lot of experience driving through stuff, so you know we should be able to do it. We get all the way down there. I mean, today's been like a giant show, just how far distance we've driven and how long it's taken us. We've only driven 145 miles so far. It took us all day. We left at 9:30, now it's 5 o'clock. We get there, a mile away, we're stopped. They say you cannot pass. So the only way to get to it is to come all the way back up to the highway, come back that crazy switchback steep road, which the van definitely didn't like, but we have no choice. So now we came all the way up. Now we're coming through this town called Solola, and we have to go all the way back down to the edge of the lake from here, and we just made the turn at Solola. We're gonna cut it pretty close. We're gonna get there probably just before dark. We are close. Hopefully the road down this way is not as crazy as the one that we came up and down and up. So fingers crossed. We're following our friends Zach and Ruta. They're leading the way this time, so we should be there in about 45 minutes.
Right, I think we made a wrong turn, so we're going to try to pull over and reassess.